So good morning, everybody. My name is Denise Bradbury, and I'm the Head of Marketing for Public Sector and Defence for UK and I at Atos. We're based in High Holborn, not far, and I've been with the company nearly 8 years. So for those of you that are not aware, just a little bit of background. Atos is a large tech company focusing on providing digital services to help drive digital transformation for our clients across public and private enterprises across the globe. We've got about 110, we're in about 110 countries, and we've got about 120,000 employees. So our focus in marketing is to help build brand equity by helping to nurture strong client relationships, create opportunities for business development, and increase brand equity through reputational positioning and drive net new digital revenue and R&I. Our plan is based on 3 key strategic pillars, and as marketers, I think we all love 3 because we all know people can't really take it all on if we go multidimensional away from 3, and it's good. It's a good focus. So our 3 key pillars are ABC of marketing. We call it ABM. A is for ABM, so delivering highly personalised campaigns directly aligned to individual clients, and it's important we go through this because this is how we actually manage programmatically plan the Cyber of Trust campaign. B is bespoke digital campaigns, driving client engagement through integrated digital channels, and customer engagement, which is direct client engagement, personalised engagement aligned to the customer journey, which I know as marketers we're all grappling with. And it helps as we drive our execution, we base it on a model called RACE, which is reach, act, convert, and engage. And we align that with the customer journey and the life cycle as we go through campaigns, which definitely helps us to deliver as timely as possible, which again is something we're all grappling with. Our Cyber Trust campaign, and we called it our Cyber Trust campaign. We put the trust word in there. It came out a lot because a lot of you that have heard me talk about this before know that it's based on a primary research exercise that we undertook a couple of years ago across 3,000 consumers of our own B2B organisations. So trust is an absolute operative word and very, very key across the whole campaign. And we utilised all 3 of our ABC strands and the RACE model to help us, and this presentation isn't about that, but I'm more than happy to talk about it another time, to help nurture the life cycle of the clients and measure success.
Denise, just a quick question. Are your slides moving on to match your 3 pillars? We had a query.
They are. Yeah, I wasn't going to present the 3 pillars. Right. I'm just going to set the scene. But good question. So that was just background into how we organise ourselves as marketers and how we actually organise ourselves when we're thinking about our key campaigns. And I thought this would be really good to put up from the start. It would be normally something that we'd present as we're going through the stats aligned with the campaign, which I'm not doing today because there's lots of it. But I just thought I'd give you a flavour. So cybersecurity, it's been around, security's been around for some years, but a few years ago it's fairly new in our sales cycle and in our marketing and sales compendium, if you like. But it is, business critical. People are growing, increasingly wary of what could happen to their personal data. If a business that they interact with in any kind of guise, personal data, health data, financial data, any sort of demographic data, if any kind of organisation that they are interacting with on a regular basis is hacked, and therefore, depending on the way the organisation deals with it, trust can fall, and security is becoming increasingly a deciding factor when consumers are choosing brands to interact with. And we found that all the way through the research and the raw data that came back to us that we subsequently analysed. But what we also found, which I'd say surprising, might not be the right word, but it was a bit like, there's a bit of a thing there that's a bit of a theme that's coming through, that consumers, we are willing to compromise on our own user experience to keep our data safe. And we would stay with a brand if they are open and transparent about their issues, their challenges, and anything that's gone on in the organisation that might affect our personal data. But our research is all about, helping our own organisations that Atos transact with, so B2B organisations, helping them step up to the mark in terms of what their consumers are saying to us. So I thought that was important to set the scene and a bit of background. So a bit of background on the issue of cyber trust in the digital age. So why did we choose to focus on a single program? That actually, that's what we did. We wanted to focus on a single program that would provide a marketing initiative over a 2-year period. Obviously, we had to prioritize and sacrifice other tactical things, but it was well worth it. So, and why did we do that? Well, cybersecurity is right in our sweet spot. And in fact, as I said before, it's business critical for more and more of our clients as they strive to protect their own business reputation and safeguard their own people and their customers' businesses. When we launched it, it was and continues to be highly topical. And at the time, there was a number of high-profile attacks taking place, including the WannaCry attack that actually became a household discussion. And in a matter of hours, the world was quickly reminded of the critical importance of a strategic cybersecurity plan for organisations that we all transact with, particularly around our personal, financial and health data. And it shows just how vulnerable existing approaches to cybersecurity and legacy infrastructure are, and that they are a necessary component towards reducing and mitigating risk. Equally, as digital explodes, it can be a joy to us all, but it can also create the need for tighter security. Individuals have more than ever are facing massive interconnections and data flows. We all are. I think this brings multiple challenges, but also significant opportunities for organisations like ours to leverage digital transformation of our customers to help them reinvent their business models, improve their own customers' experience, and optimise their operations. And this is what we wanted to base some of the research on. So we need to provide a really clear line of sight into what our propositions were and our third-party propositions were to actually help our customers organise themselves around their cybersecurity. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I've lost my space. Sorry, I've lost where I am. So just bear with me, please. Bear with me. Excuse me a moment, please.
Just while Denise finds her space, I think raised some really interesting issues there. Just listening to Denise talking about the research that underpinned this program. I think that is really interesting, and particularly at the moment with cybersecurity and all of the increase in hacks going on, and for us all to think about our own data flows. And I'm personally going to be really interested to read this report, because I think for those of us in marketing, with the new normal, we're really sort of got to be even more cognizant and aware of actually how we're managing data, with so many of us working from home in different environments. So I think it's interesting, a campaign that's running over 2 years should in fact be so prescient, as Denise has said, and actually so timely for the new normal and now. And I'm waiting for Denise to let me know if she's found her place.
I'm back.
Yeah. I'll hand back to Denise.
I'm using this phone. I'm using my daughter's phone actually, because mine went a bit funny this morning. I didn't want it, but so forgive me. So where were we? Yes, so that's a great segue actually. Thank you, Shane. Thank you for that. And as I was saying, we're talking about the data explosion. We're talking about digital. It creates all this opportunity for good and for bad, to be honest. And as individuals, we are more than ever facing actually our own responsibility for actually protecting our own data. But how many of us actually do that to the nth degree? I think probably very few. And we have to make sure that we as an organisation and our customers' organisation are in a good place to provide the best scientific and business outcomes for our customers and our customer's customer, and make sure that our massive data flows are protected, to make sure that we are indeed protected the best we can from fast-growing multiple cyber threats, for sure. And of course, the responsibility for us as marketers and goes way beyond the IT department and deep into the heads of business. And that's great for us as an organisation, because we are finding through digital explosion that's where we are interacting the most now. Yeah, so all who carry the responsibility for security in these organisations, and therefore that create the opportunities for organisations like us to provide thought leadership, education and support. Cyber is in the heart of our business in Atos, and it glues our portfolio together. Of keynote is the Olympic Games, and we have been one of the key IT digital partners for over 25 years and are one of Europe's leading partners in this space. So clearly all of this, it's not about selling Atos, but my point here is all of this clearly underpins the programme. And from my perspective and my team's perspective, it's wise when investing this much time and energy in a campaign or a programme that you can launch from a solid position, especially where the mood music is negative. And, we know that it's consumed by confusion still, fear, lack of real understanding about something that is perceived to be highly complex inside and outside their own organisations. So ultimately, we chose to try and turn the negative into a positive by building real value into the Cyber Trust programme. So our clients could understand more about how they could positively affect and protect their business by proactively putting a few things in place to secure their own customer base. And I'd say at this point, it's a balancing act. We work with our subject matter experts in Atos. We're not in it to sell, more to sell, an organisation that doesn't need it, a multi-million pound solution. It's about balance and balance of risk, and we found that. So slide 4, I'll just move on. Trying to manage 2 screens here, which is not my forte, as you can probably see. So I've already mentioned the focus was all on the problem in the outside world, and we wanted to think beyond the conventional so we could create something that was different and stood out from our closest competitors. As I said previously, we wanted to create a story with long-term appeal. So, we can create campaigns and we can create tactics around that, and we can create, assets that we can execute in a multi-channel way. But, facts tell, stories sell. And I think, we're all about stories, and it's not easy to do. And I think, whatever we do, we have to create a story, and that's what actually lands interest. So we wanted to create long-term appeal, and, it's proven itself because it's still going. We wanted to turn negative as best we could into added value for our clients' bottom line. It was very important to align the story with our business propositions, aligned to customer challenges. So we had our own internal stakeholder and sales buy-in. So clearly the success of this would be through our own internal stakeholder and sales community buy-in, because they've got to go and talk to customers about it. And part of our strategy and part of our channel execution was to actually do it through our major accounts in public and private. So the buy-in and the connection of the primary research that was across 3,000 consumers, across their experience, if they'd transacted with a company that had been hacked, what the communications level was about, and what the trust was after that in terms of how the organisation had transacted and been open and transparent with them, and whether they would continue to buy from them or use them or talk to them or collaborate with them, was interesting. So we had to get that clear line of story into what we were going to do for our own customers and what propositions we could take to the customer from a thought leadership perspective, but ultimately what our salespeople could sell on the back of it. And we knew we'd got to do that work, which was great actually. And I'm going to be really transparent, this did come from lessons learned in previous exercises and programs of this nature that we'd undertook in previous years, where there was a distinct lack of connection in how we could help solve the business issues, and our sales community really struggled, and actually the shelf life diminished. So we learned from that. So a key part of our business model is the focus on our customer's customer. So you've probably heard me say this in previous presentations, that one of our legs of our strategy is if we focus on our customer's customer and understand and gain knowledge and insight into their motivations and what drives them to purchase or use or collaborate, what drives them to stay satisfied and loyal, and therefore we learn what our own customers' business imperatives are, we can't go far wrong. So through our design thinking model, we came up with a plan based on the premise, as mentioned earlier, that we as consumers are growing increasingly wary of what could happen to our personal data, and businesses need to be mindful of that and actually put systems and solutions in place to make sure that ultimately, our data is protected. Not saying we haven't got responsibility in that, we have, and that ultimately they protect their business growth. So we commissioned a primary research program that surveyed 3,000 customers, 3,000 consumers, to gather evidence to enable us to create thought leadership and write a story aimed at our own customer enterprises and what could happen to customers' trust and loyalty, and how to protect their propensity to purchase, transact, or reuse after a breach had occurred, and how they handled that communication out to their own customers if it impacted their personal health or financial data and or threatened their own data protection, privacy, confidentiality, from anything from basic demographics to financial to health history. And in turn, we included our recommended security strategies, not all from Atos, I might say, to create damage limitation, mitigate any loss, and build trust back up. We consulted with experts in and outside Atos, including clients. Excuse me a moment, I'm just going to adjust this. Including clients, and concluded this approach and resulting report. You can see on most of the slides the picture of the report, and you're very welcome to that. And we indeed made sure that we created real value in the short, medium and long term that would give our campaign variation on the content for at least 12 months, probably longer, and it's proved to be longer. The research was done by a survey. Let's make sure I'm on slide 5. So as I said, let me have a look. Yeah, so slide 5. So as I said, we commissioned independent research across 3,000 consumers, getting feedback on their behaviours, experience of communications after attack, and attitudes towards cybersecurity. We also wanted to get a clear message across our multiple channels that we were here to help secure our clients' data, protect their businesses, and in turn their own customers' privacy and confidentiality. The research was done by a survey, and once the raw stats were analysed, we were able to produce a report and tailor the content across a number of market sectors, for example, finance, health, retail, police, public sector. We used our subject matter experts in discussion groups, on podiums and in front of customers, and we used external experts on panels, interviewing ethical hackers, which caused some excitement, victims, and industry experts to back up the report. We created a series of podcasts that people could listen to on the fly. We knew to create the momentum, we must create a platform with many faces, facets, assets, and channels, and reveal a story chapter by chapter to build the momentum, create intrigue, maybe a bit of mystery, almost a dark side, and provocative nuances to create that sustained interest and ultimately engagement that would lead to sales conversations with our clients' businesses and IT communities. We were constantly trying to think ahead, as we do as marketers, think 6 steps ahead through through our own main program design board. So we set up, as well as the ABC of marketing, the actual trace model. We also set up a design board that had some of our C-level internal stakeholders on as well, just to try and keep thinking 6 steps ahead of what we should be doing, what we should be running in parallel, make sure we didn't let any of the balls drop. And we also wanted to keep thinking about the life cycle of the customer journey. So this could help build momentum, maintain engagement, and actually, as we all grapple with, make sure that we nurtured the program and curb any drop-offs along the way. As the research progressed, in parallel, we were developing the creative, clearly, to support the story, the channel strategy and delivery platform, which we wanted to be as integrated as possible, and to create as many opportunities to see for recall. One, we wanted to create momentum and alignment for Atos as a trusted thought leader in the cybersecurity space. We wanted to open up opportunities and conversations for our sales teams and deliver revenue and growth. And of course, besides the main report, we needed to create assets based on the main report that were digestible. People don't have a lot of time these days. Flexible assets that were personalised and tailored to the market and were targeted at target audience that maybe have 5 minutes, 30 minutes or an hour, and could be, as I said, consumed in a snapshot and then, consume the more detailed report at a time that was more available to them. We wanted to create on and offline communications plan with a detailed programmatic project plan, driving it forward step by step. By the way, the report is still being downloaded today, 2.5 years later. So I'm looking at the time and I'm conscious of times because there may be questions. So obviously the slides will be shared. The overall report still lives today. We created a number of flexible assets, as you can see on the screen, with the stats and facts and information relevant to various markets. We launched market by market. We took feedback, we adjusted, we tweaked. We created blogs through our subject matter experts, internal and external. We created infographics. If people were time poor, they wanted a snapshot of what was going on in their market. And we created 2-page overviews that our clients could use, all hosted on our website and signposted to more useful pieces of content around our thought leadership page, and all with calls to action. Channels, we wanted to try a couple of new channels. We had not done podcasts before. So we created podcasts focusing on for example, some quite provocative headlines. For example, the length hackers will go to steal people's data. We established a context for the series. We used a guy called René Millman, who's an award-winning cybersecurity journalist, who was absolutely brilliant. We used a well-known ethical hacker, and we used our own cybersecurity specialists on panels. We created quite an extensive LinkedIn campaign using sponsored updates. We used SEO, we used PPC, we did content, we did in-mail with LinkedIn, and we created avatars for trade publications key to our clients, and we did face-to-face events. So we did, we sort of exhausted what we could do, but we kept it, in a very integrated fashion and made sure it was executed in a nurture type program. So we made sure we had it was timely across the customer life cycle, across the customer journey. And I've put this slide in because this was something, I'm going to be honest, wasn't at the forefront of our mind, but actually was really, really, really key. So as we were obviously keeping the buy-in from our internal stakeholders, what we found is that our sales guys, we had the buy-in, and we had the buy-in from the internal stakeholders, and they loved what we were doing. But there was some nervousness around how they positioned it. And you know what they say, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink it. What we found was that although we were getting internal buy-in for the program, our client-facing communities absolutely needed support to help them position this program, to help them position the research. They actually, a lot of them were not used to working with research. They were not used to using primary research. There wasn't enough clear knowledge and understanding about how to use it to create a consultative and collaborative conversation with a customer, and also at the same time get the sort of spot the opportunities, if you will, spot the opportunities to actually align it in terms of the conversation, to align it with our key business propositions in this space, so they could actually create real sales opportunities for themselves. So we created a playbook to make it easier for, say, our client execs to start the conversations around the currency of cyber trust content to stimulate client interest. We created in the playbook how they could simplify the key outcomes of the research, simplify the complexity, and tie it into, at a glance actually, and tie it into the research, tie the research outcomes into our offerings, Atos offerings at a high level. And we also created a hypothesis of typical sales objections and helped with that. And we signposted everything to useful information and content. So we did that, which was kind of not last minute, but we did it, and it really, really helped. And we had a few testimonials from our organisation that actually summed up how they felt about it. And then the all-encompassing, proof is in the pudding. Clearly, we set ourselves, ROI targets. Clearly, we were measuring everything that moved. We had to. There was an amount of investment in this programme, not just monetary, but also from the board, straight across the organisation. And also Global had a real keen eye on it as well. So, without labouring the point, we actually smashed our targets, and we were very proud of that. And I think that's because of the focus, the energy, and, we kind of got the content right. I think, as I said, it was topical. It was incredibly topical. The timing was perfect in a way. The story was focused on the positive, not the problem. So being helpful, not feeding the negative. It was an engaging story. So if you do dip into the report or read some of the stuff online, it simplified the technicalities of it all. into business messages. So it really hit the sweet spots of our customers' challenges. We had endorsements from the outside, so edified our credibility in this space. We built client communities through roundtables, webinars, podiums, and workshops. So really got close to our clients on this subject. And we had some brilliant expert agencies helping us. The energy and pace was relentless. We worked relentlessly to cover all bases. All of our team got involved. And, we did the best we could at the time, and were very, very focused on what we were doing. That's what we did, and it definitely paid off. So I've probably run over my time. I think we've got 3 minutes left for Q&A, if there are any.
That is absolutely brilliant. You packed so much in there, Denise. And like you, not being somebody who's a great fan of multi-screening, I actually have 5 open at the moment. And I feel as though I've got, I don't know how many brains going to try and track everything, but you did brilliantly and shared the learnings. For me, the takeaways, and I'd love anybody who's been in this session to ask the questions of Denise. I think there were a couple. The first one is, how did you get the stakeholder engagement to go with a theme of, actually, I hope we haven't lost Denise there. I'm going to have to let you back in, Denise. I think you left.
I'm here.
Don't leave. I'll just ask you a difficult question. Don't go away.
I don't know what happened. Sorry.
That's all right. Of getting that buy-in for basically something that ran over, or is still running over 2.5 years. How did you go about that?
So initially, we got them straight. So we went to a few friendly internal stakeholders, quite senior, because you have to have the top of the tree buy-in, for this stuff, because we're spending money. We are expecting buy-in and interest and commitment from the organisation for a period of time. Plus, it was one campaign that went across multiple markets. So we got a number of stakeholders. We got actually people that we knew would get it more or less straight away. We had focus teams, we had roundtables, we had sales and client execs at the table as much as we possibly can during the planning phase. We also went out and spoke to customers. So we'd got evidence there that our customers were actually asking for this as well, in terms of help me understand what I can do to ensure my business grows through this, through this complex landscape. So we did that. As soon as we could, and at every point we included our, the wider community. We evidenced as much as we could from the industry. We put our metrics out as early as we could in terms of what we were committing to and how, and a line of sight and how we knew we could affect the bottom line of our company and business growth. Soon as we launched, and we did it in a chapter by chapter basis, as soon as we launched and we saw the metrics coming in, which wasn't just monetary, it was, how many views online we were getting, how many conversations we were having on or offline, how many customers came to our round tables, how much anecdotal information we got from our customers. We just kept sort of bringing them in, communicating with them, nurturing our own internal stakeholders as well as our external stakeholders.
Bringing them on the journey. So I mean, I was fascinated, and I'm no surprise to me that you smashed and won so many awards, because it was all about the results, fantastic results. But I know, because this is a Martech conference, everybody's going to be really interested in what were the tools that we're using for that evidence and for being able to measure everything, especially, gosh, I loved your facets, assets and channels. You had so much to measure.
Yeah, we did. I mean, transparently, we were also setting up our own Martech stack at the time, so that was an additional challenge. But I think I've said before, so we use Pardot. Right. So we're very mature user of Pardot, and our head of digital measures everything that moves. So she's our expert, and I would have liked her to be on this with me as well. We use Salesforce as our CRM, and we use Pardot, and they're the two key things for us. One of the key elements is getting your sales community to use Salesforce. Yeah.
Any tips on that? Because I know everybody in the audience
put
is
it in their
going,
bonus scorecards.
yeah.
Put it in their put it on their bonus scorecards. Put it in their objectives. Get your CEO bought in, which he was absolutely bought in. Get your board bought in. Get into the and as soon as they see that it's actually helping create client conversations, create client meetings, and soon as they can see the client buy-in and opportunities for ROI and revenue in year,
yeah,
they start to. I mean, I'm going to be honest, we are a long way off perfection. Yeah. But we've got a really good team measuring the life out of anything they could. And I am not an expert in the technical back end of these things, but they were able, we built a dashboard that could sit on the CEO desktop. So he could see if he was interested every morning how we were going.
That visibility and sales knowing the CEO's watching. And I think, absolutely top tip, incentivize. And I also love the fact you'd heard sales' problem from and taken previous learnings and created a playbook which made it easier for them to talk to the campaign. So again, not just worrying about the marketing side, but absolutely helping sales do their job better. So really good. Love that engagement. And somebody else,
using it, eh?
yeah, and Lee Morgan just in the chat saying spot on, sales engagement is essential. Love the Atos approach on this. So really good.
There's so much more to it. Half an hour doesn't cover it, but I just thought I'd just cover the highlights of it. Yeah. But the report's online to read.
One final question. I mean, risky topic in terms of choosing cyber, because obviously if there was any possibility of a breach at Atos, then your campaign would have gone south. Can you share anything that you did in terms of due diligence first in order to be confident to go with this campaign?
Yeah, so so what I didn't bring across is it was challenging. It was a challenging campaign because it wasn't a normal marketing execution for us. We had to have legal involved. Well, I think you probably do this anyway, but not as in depth. We had to have legal involved, HR involved, the operational side involved, our delivery involved. Every function in our organisation, we had to make sure they were involved to make sure we were doing the right thing. And you're absolutely spot on. We knew it was high risk, high reward. But cybersecurity, I mean, we run the Olympic Games, yeah? So, there's a lot goes on behind the scenes, and we do it in the cloud now as well. I mean, the next one was Tokyo. Clearly, that's going to happen next year, but we're looking forward to that.
Exciting. Oh, well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed that. And I personally are definitely going to download the report because I think there's lots there, with my marketing ops hat on that I can learn from that. I love the fact, as you said, you were very clear. The Atos is always about your customers. And I think for all of that, it makes, that's so much easier to do. I've seen Vanessa Hughes has just jumped on and said, would love to know more about how your digital person actually did some of this stuff. So maybe we can persuade B2B marketing to do a follow-up session and get those learnings. So, but
yeah, our head of digital would have liked to have been with me today, actually. But we're in an unprecedented situation. So I did ask her to join because she could have answered some great digital questions. So we ought to think about that for another time. Maybe.
Follow-up. But hugely appreciate it, Denise. Thank you so much. And thank you for swapping it this morning. What I'll say to everybody now is, sadly, the thing I normally look forward to the most at B2B marketing is the lunch break and the lovely lunch. But I've just got to go and see what's in my fridge now. But please, everybody, make most of the networking, go on the expo, visit the sponsors, because this wouldn't have happened, this virtual, being able to pivot and do this so quickly without the sponsors' support who've gone for this and been quite brave. So please reward them, go and talk to them, say thank you. And we'll be starting off back on this stream again at 1:10. So thank you again, Denise.
Thanks for listening, everybody. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Jane. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.